Hello, I'm your host, Maria Garcia, and welcome to SPOTcast. I'm joined by my guests, Raquel.
Hola.
Jennifer.
Hey.
And Danishel.
Booyah.
The U.S. women's national team recently won the World Cup that was held in France on July 7th, 2019. As millions of views poured in, the women on the team spoke out about their efforts and how they were reimbursed. The public became more aware of the controversy that women are underpaid compared to men in professional sports. According to Professor Anderson, U.S. women's soccer players make between $25,000 and $85,000 per season, while men's soccer make between $25,000 and $300,000. This brings up the question, is gender a significant factor in wage regarding women in professional sports? Does equal pay equal equality? This is SPOTcast. Did you know that the U.S. women's soccer team won the World Cup?
I did not know.
I did, but just barely. Like the day after on Twitter, I found out and through a Nike commercial.
I had no clue about it, so no.
Where do you guys stand within women's rights?
I am all for it. I consider myself to be a feminist, so everything about the women's rights movement and the Me Too movement, I'm all about it.
I'm also all for women's rights. I'm just not as involved as other people.
Yeah, I'm all for women's rights. Just as Raquel said, I don't really do anything about it.
Why don't women's sports get as much recognition as men's?
I think people just have this mindset that women's sports are boring and just not as entertaining as men's.
Do you think recognition contributes to their wage?
Well, yeah, of course recognition contributes to their wage. If you look at, an athlete is still an entertainer because sports is entertainment. So if you look at this, in another, perspective or, career, for example, a singer-songwriter, they're an entertainer. If no one shows up to their concert, they're not gonna get enough money or, their wage. If someone, compared to, another singer or songwriter who has, double amount that they had. So it goes, exactly same for athletes, women's athletes or men's athletes. If they have more of an audience or recognition, they're going to get paid more and more. If they don't have enough audience or recognition, they're not going to get paid as much.
Do women have the same skill set as men to be able to partake within professional sports, and why do you think so?
I think that women do have the same skill set as men to participate in these professional sports, as they have to go through the same intense training, and maybe they could be a bit more passionate about the particular sport that they're playing.
I most definitely think that women have the same skill set as men to participate in professional sports, even though a lot of people might say that men are a lot stronger, they have more stamina, that sort of stuff. But I mean, women are out here birthing babies. We're the ones that do that sort of stuff. So, and studies have shown that birthing a child requires so much. So, if women are doing that on a daily basis, then we're able to sustain the physical trauma and all of the shocks that goes with professional sports.
What does this say about the progress on women's rights regarding equal pay and or other rights? Does it feel like we're taking 2 steps back?
For me, I feel in the progress of women's rights, we're staying in the same place. As throughout history, women have been fighting for the right to vote, the right to do this and that. And as of recently, women were taking the right to have the choice to do whatever they want with their own bodies.
I definitely think that the physical side of equal pay is something that hasn't been touched on. This whole sports and women's equal pay sort of thing going on is something that's pretty much been an untapped, uncovered topic.
Should we consider this as part of the women's movement?
I definitely think, the feminist in me definitely thinks that this should be part of the women's rights movement, just because I think that would be so cool. this whole women's rights movement has always been about kind of like the intellectual aspect of feminism, whether, you know, women have the mental capacity to vote, do they have the smarts to take jobs that men usually take. That's all very intellectual in their capabilities, that sort of stuff. But this is a more like physical aspect of it. And so to have, I guess, almost the 360 on that, having intellectual, like mind and body, that would be the coolest to me.
How will this affect us in the future?
Honestly, I think this is kind of affecting us now. You know, some years ago, even months ago, we weren't hearing anybody talk about women in professional sports receiving equal pay, but now there's all this talk about it. And actually, just a couple days ago, I was sent a video by my good friend here, Raquel, and in that video, it showed people, the setting was at the Women's World Cup in France, and people in the crowds were shouting, equal pay, equal pay, equal pay. And so the word is getting around to people. And then just a couple hours later, I was on Twitter and I found this one post that said, so we're going to call it soccer and men's soccer now, right?
So, like, looking at all four of us here, we're all women. We're all seniors in high school. It's our last year in high school. We're gonna go off to college. We're gonna probably end up finishing college, hopefully, I assume. We're gonna going to our future careers, and then we're gonna get our jobs. And with jobs, you get paid. And since we're dealing with women don't get paid equally, that's gonna like stick with us till the day we die. We're not gonna. Well, hopefully within the women's movements, we're gonna see that we're gonna end up paid equally, even though we're having like the same profession.
On average, 3.5 billion people watched the Men's World Cup, and only 14 million watched the women's. If more people watch men's soccer, is it fair to pay women the same as them?
I think it's fair to go back to Danny's example earlier that people who are professional athletes, you know, sports, all that, it's entertainment. And so, I mean, in a way, we have to treat them as entertainers because you had a really good example saying that if there's somebody performing and only like 100 people go see them, you can't unfortunately pay them the same as somebody who's bringing in like 10,000 people. Obviously, there's gonna be a wage gap there just because the revenues and the audience is a lot different, the numbers.
Another factor on this debate is our physical stamina. It is commonly thought that men can sustain more physical activity than women. Is it fair to give women equal pay if this happens to be true?
Yeah. I think that it depends on the person because everybody has their strengths and weaknesses. So just to like compare each of them in just a simple category isn't really fair for either party.
Why do you think society values masculinity over femininity?
Well, throughout history, it's always like men, men, and men, women, women, and women. They're always on the lower scale. And it's always like, oh, the man is always like the man of the house. And some people view femininity as some sort of weakness. So this leads people to have this mindset that men are stronger or better than women.
Yeah, unfortunately so, and I have a lot to say on this question, but I'll keep it short. I mean, this whole country, the US, is founded on Christian values and principles too. And so religion is just one of those things that runs really deep roots into, humanity, human culture, and just the way that we go on trying to understand the world and how we live. And so since it was based on those principles and values. I mean, in the Bible, it states that like God is a father figure, male, and that Jesus Christ was also a man, and that the males should be the head of the family, that they should also be the head of the church that they belong to. And so because of religion, I think that that's one of the things that's really like seeped deep into our roots, and caused us to unconsciously, subconsciously want to value men more over women.
Yeah, kind of relating to our own not society, but more like community, since all of us here like Hispanic, we all speak Spanish. Spanish has kind of like one of like sexist language, since you have to identify masculine with O and femininity with A. So when you're speaking, it kind of like throws you off. So we've been like it's been in our roots, like I said, it's been in our roots. So we kind of like normalize it in a way. But with all things that happen within society, we're trying to get like that kind of equality where like Latinx instead of Latino or Latina. So it's just been within our roots since our ancestors are doing it. Either way, like within America, our ancestors have been doing it. It's always been the male that's the breadwinner of the family, and the female is also given the role of a caretaker. She stays at home, takes care of the children, makes food, and cares for the male. Also within our Hispanic roots, that the breadwinner is also the male. He gets money and all that. He provides for the family.
And that will do it for this episode of SPOTcast. I would like to thank my guests, Raquel, Jennifer, and Danishel. For Spot 127, I'm Maria Garcia.